and the percentage of the renal value content of reproduced in the same manufacturing plant. So that's one of the things that they are very important. And I encourage you, if you are in the auto business, check the Annex 4B, or Annex 4, and then go to the details. And let me explain you one here. Okay, this is just comparison of NAFTA use USMCA, and which is, under NAFTA, you were allowed to change the harmonized classification. Now, the auto parts are subdivided into categories, allowing the change of harmonized codes only to some auto parts, okay? And under NAFTA contains a tracking list. In the USMCA, there's no tracking list. The tracking list was to see where the raw materials or components were coming from, to see if they were original. Here, they took out this tracking list, and now we go for the calculation of the renal value content. For engines and transmissions, in case of not complying with the harmonized code classification, they had to comply with the renal value content of 62.5% starting July 1st of this year. And now in the USMCA, of course, now we have to comply with 75%, but it's not what happened, it's not, that 75%, it's gradually. It's not that we had to comply from July 1st. Then you will see it in the next slides. For other auto parts, they are allowed to change a harmonized code. Here, like I mentioned, we have a different classification: main parts, complementary parts, and essential parts. Okay, and you will also see how they're going to be. The calendar to go up to 75% of renal value content. Essential parts, very simple. Axle parts, steering system, suspension, car bodies, stamp parts, which it's a lot of needed in Mexico, by the way. If you're in the stamping process in the auto industry, Mexico will love you at this moment. Engine parts, transmission. And the essential part must necessarily comply with the renal value content of 75%, but it's until July 1st of 2023. Okay, they change the harmonized classification. It's now eliminated. They had to be original. And then you see here the calendar. July 1st of 2020 was 66%. If we go back here, it was 62.5%. Now it's 66%. And it will start growing every single year until we get to the 75% of real value content. Main parts. There are some examples that, to see the full list. Of course, I again encourage you to go to Appendix B4 of the USMCA. And here is the main parts. You will see an alternator, a radiator, some brakes parts, a computer, or the brain of the car. And here you will see what they had to comply every single year. And until they get to 70% under the net cost method, or 80% under the transaction value method. Okay. Now we go to complementary parts: hoses, locks, harnesses. If you see the numbers here, are very lower than the 70% as the essential parts. And of course, they allow to change or to comply the change of classification, or with the renal value content of 65% under the net cost and 75% on the transaction value cost. So those are the things that you need to know and learn and review, because there are a lot of changes now and different rules apply. And this is just for the light vehicles. There are other numbers, all their calendars, all the requirements, all the rules, all the alternatives for heavy trucks, and also for the recreational vehicles. So if you're selling some part to let's say Bombardier recreational products, but that same harness that you're selling to Bombardier, probably you're selling to a Magna Tier 1 in Mexico, there are different things, okay? So you need to go back and review. Of course, like I said, we can help you. Get in touch with Tien or Nathan or the people in Ohio Development Services Agency. So we can also help you with that. Or if we don't know the answer, we will take you, we will suggest you someone who can give you a nice and we will come answer for your questions. Now we're going to talk about, this is mainly a recap of what was going on now with the USMCA and what you saw in the NAFTA, labor provisions. 45% of auto parts workers with average wage of $16 per hour now, and was not mentioned in the NAFTA. They reviewed the sunset clause now under US NAFTA. And other consideration, and like I mentioned, I didn't put it in the presentation because it's also a lot of information, a lot of formulas, and this is basically when you have an operation in Mexico, it's the labor, regional labor content, okay, where you need to comply with the $16 per hour, okay. There's a lot of rules, also when you pay your employees in the production line. Also another rule for when you had to deal with research and development, and if you have a credit for your plan, that's another rule to comply with the regional labor content. Like I said, this just to talk about regional value content or rules of origin will take us a small workshop of 4 or 5 hours just to know what's going on, and we go in, and of course we can go in detail of what the Annex 4B says, the rules and so on. So I'm going to talk about just a few more slides about the business etiquette in Mexico. You probably are selling into Mexico, you're familiar with this. Punctuality is not a rigid Mexican daily life, especially in Mexico City, it's pretty hard to be on time. Mexico, of course, Spanish-speaking country, but English is quite widely spoken in businesses. And try to learn a few words in Spanish that will help a lot. And if you have the opportunity to translate your marketing materials into Spanish, that will also help a lot. And negotiating, we love to make friends first, and then we talk about business. Of course, the physical proximity is not rigid at this moment with this pandemic stuff, but, we make friends before we go into business. So, and the business to do business in Mexico goes pretty slowly. Mexicans not want to say no. They hate to say no. They tell you maybe, let's see. And because they want to keep the door open. That doesn't, if you don't get a response right away, that doesn't mean that the Mexican person is not interested anymore. We have to understand that the person is also running a business and they're busy and so on. And of course the culture said, I will talk to them later, and I will send them an email, and suddenly you get a PO out of nothing. So this is the main contacts or the rock stars that you need to talk if you need some assistance from my office in Mexico. Especially we can help you with different things, export counseling, market research, market entry strategy. We monitor the different industry sectors. And the core of this is to help them to identify qualified representative distributors and users. We arrange a B2B meetings now virtually. We can do a lot of things for you, except for collections. We're pretty bad at it, and we try to avoid it by find you the best and reputable Mexican company to avoid this kind of situations. Okay, so, and this is ongoing assistance. We can go from A to C. We tell you what to expect, what other obstacles that you will face, and if there's a medical device, what kind of certification do you need, or so on. So there's a lot of things that we can do for you users. And I always tell my clients, hey, we're an extension of your office in your company. And that's about it. Thank you very much and for the invitation, Fian and Nathan. And this is my contact information. I'm as close in an email or call, and more than happy to help you in your business in Mexico. Thanks again.
Thank you, Efren. That was a great presentation, and I think we have a couple of questions from the audience. The first one is, does automotive include power sports?
Okay, will you start let me see here. Okay, can you repeat the question again? Sorry, Fian.
Sure. The question is, does automotive include power sports, all-terrain vehicles?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, all when you mention a vehicle, now it's divided by light vehicles, heavy trucks, and also recreational vehicles.
Does that include electric vehicles?
That's a good question. That's an exception. That's an exception because if you see the list of the components, you don't see anything related with electrical vehicles. Okay, so we have to go back, like I said, on the appendix 4B and see the list of products. And if you don't see there your product or material, it's an exception. Unfortunately, USMCA did not go that deep in the case of electrical vehicles. They considered it, but the main purpose was to keep the engine parts and, like I mentioned, the essential parts, and to comply with certain percentage of the USMCA.
Okay, Efren, I think sorry, go ahead, Ben.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to mention there's another question here in the comment box here. Efren, do you have any comments on the new labor union climate in Mexico?
That's another thing that was mentioned. It's under the labor chapter. Now every single union the leader of the union must be elected democratically. So that's a lot of changes because the past years, they were just selected by, hey, you're my next, and you can do whatever you want. And now laborers are being forced to, first of all, to be open with what they're doing with the money, and also what they're doing for the workers. And now the workers are open to select or to vote who is the best for them. So it's a democratic election for every single union leader. And everything, in the case of course, if you want to have a company in Mexico, you will need to be part of the union sometimes. Well, and just to comply with the law, you can join what we call a white union, just to comply with the law, and that's it. Okay, you won't have any issues. And of course, now we haven't seen any big strikes in Mexico for, I don't know, 20, 25 years. For those, those companies are pretty big, and they try to or threat the company. They will go under strike, but they negotiate and they finish everything before the strike starts.
Great. Efren, I know that you mentioned this a little earlier, and I don't know if there are any other questions about the presentation, but just to underscore the fact that this was discussed a little bit earlier in the program and Fen had mentioned, but Efren is here as part of our Ohio foreign contractors, and as Fen laid out, the state of Ohio through the Development Service Agency, we have representation in over 80 countries, and Efren is part of our team of individuals down in Mexico. And if any of you on the call have worked with the IMS service, the International Market Support Program, this is a free service that we provide to Ohio companies. And Efren, I don't know, maybe can you just give us a little flavor of the kind of work that you do if anyone was interested in not just asking you or interfacing with you on USMCA now and questions, but just the typical project that you would work on and how you engage Ohio companies, the type of service you do, and the outcomes.
Sure. Like I mentioned, we can help you with almost everything. There's a classical case, what we call it. Say an Ohio company is looking into exporting into Mexico, and that company doesn't know how, what to come, what to expect, who to contact. So that's where we come in. We then, we tell them about the market. We tell them what to expect in case if there's some kind of a certifications or rules or something like that. And the core is to identify clients or customers. Okay, customers that we can mention as a distributor, an end user, and let's say a company that sells, I don't know, pumps, for example, okay? Pumps for water treatment, let's put it this way. So we tell them what the market is for water treatment in the country, if there's some needs, and also we go and talk to potential distributors, representatives, or end users for that particular pump. We know, we talk to the company in Ohio, we learn about the product, we gather as much information that we can so we can forward it to the Mexican counterpart. We identify the decision maker, especially if it's the owner or the high ranked personnel in the company who's the decision maker, to see if, hey, I'm interested in the pump, what's going to be the next step. So that's when we'll start putting video conferences or conference calls so both can talk, okay? We don't talk about much about prices, that's your part. We use like a matchmaker. So you can say, hey, this Mexican company is pretty reputable. We give you some additional information about that particular Mexican company. One thing that a lot of companies from American companies ask us to do is financial research for a certain Mexican company. We can do it to a certain point, but it's unless we get a written authorization from the Mexican company, say, hey, you're allowed to go into my financials. But we gather information about distribution network, sales force, where are located at, and so on. But we try to get the most reputable companies. We have a big database that we have built for the last 20 years, and we'll still grow that database. We have joined different associations. We have grown, joined different chambers of commerce in Mexico to gather some more reputable companies. So going back to that, is we try to match you with the best of the best that are going to be interested in your product. We do a pre-qualification process to make sure that Mexican company is really interested in the product. Okay, it's not like I just give you a list and hey, go ahead and call them or send them an email. It's beyond that. It's beyond that. We talk to the company on your behalf, say, hey, this is a very nice opportunity for you. talk to Mr. Smith. He's anxious to open a distribution in Mexico, and you, Mexican company, you're the right candidate. So, and as soon as we put the communication together, we let the Ohio company to do their magic to talk about details, about price, and so on. That's where the negotiation starts and the communication starts. So, and of course, we follow up and we make sure that the business opportunity is closed and beneficial for both parties.
Do we have any other questions for Efren? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for participating today. We're right on time, just like last time, so thank you so much. Yeah, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. The session is recorded. We will be sending this out next week, and the Canada webinar that was recorded last week will be sending out today. All right.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and be safe. And I look forward to hear from you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you, Efren. Thank you, everyone, for attending our seminar today.